If you were at the end of your life looking back right now, could you truly say that you're living the life you want to be living? Welcome to the Women Inspired Podcast, brought to you by Modern Well, a beautiful woman-centered collaborative workspace in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm your host, April Seifert, psychologist, entrepreneur, and self-proclaimed life experience junkie. Each week, I will introduce you to a different woman who is succeeding and inspiring others in one way or another. We'll dive into her story, her successes, failures, and the lessons she has learned along the way, all with the goal of inspiring you to listen to that inner voice who keeps reminding you that there is something you want to take action on. You are so much more capable and powerful than you give yourself credit for. Inside of you is a woman on fire. Let's let her out and see what happens. Here we go. Hey everybody, April Seifert here, and welcome back to the Women Inspired Podcast. This week's episode is going to be a little bit different than normal. I don't have a guest today, and I'll be honest, I have a lot of feelings about this episode, like all the feelings all at the same time. I am simultaneously completely excited, really nervous, super thrilled, all the things. And so I am just going to dive right in and let you know what's going on. All right, so in about a month, on December 4th to be exact, the Women Inspired Podcast will be 2 years old. I'm a toddler. That's awesome. And it's kind of crazy because when I look back on those 2 years, there has been a ton of change. And I've talked about it before a number of times on quite a few podcast episodes. And actually, I did a whole episode on it called Just Start. I didn't even really know what I was doing when I started the podcast. I definitely didn't know the ins and outs of how to create a podcast and how to make this happen. But I also didn't really know what the podcast would be or what it would become. And it's just sort of evolved along the way. You know, a little while back, maybe 10 months ago, there was some format changes. I changed up my music and my branding because the podcast was growing up, and we're hitting another one of those points right now. The podcast is turning into something more than it was before. And, you know, originally, I just felt like I just had this big compulsion to just start this podcast, and I didn't know why. I knew that I wanted to help women. I knew that I wanted to help women live more fulfilling lives, to celebrate the things that they were accomplishing, and to set big goals and go after them. And it just felt really urgent that I wanted to start it. And so I started before I was ready or before I even knew what it really was. And oh my gosh, has a lot happened in 2 years. Number one, you can't start a project like this. And for those of you who have taken on a really big goal, you can't start something like this and not grow as a person. So number one, I am a fundamentally different person than I was 2 years ago. And I am insanely grateful for that. So incredibly grateful for that. The other thing that's grown though, and that I didn't really know, I knew that it could happen, but I didn't want to expect it. I didn't want to take it for granted or assume that it would happen. My relationship with all of you has grown. I truly, truly feel like every week when I sit down in front of this microphone, I feel like I'm talking to a group of friends. I do. I sit here and I close my eyes. I do this every week. I close my eyes and I think, what does my best friend need to hear right now? What does she need to hear from me? So my relationship with you guys has grown so much. And as is the case so many times when we have a big goal, as you take steps and as you move forward, the path illuminates and it becomes much more clear. And that's the topic of today's podcast episode. I want to talk to you guys about what the path forward looks like for this podcast. And as my friends, I want to bring you along for this ride. You guys have been with me through all these interviews and through some of the other content that I've put out. And I owe it to you as my good friends to bring you along for this ride. So let's dive in. All right. Like I said, I'm excited to say that the podcast is turning 2, and it has grown up a ton in the past 2 years. Now, objectively, some of you may know that I'm a data scientist in my sort of normal day job. And so I pay attention to metrics. I can't help it. And objectively, my audience and my reach has grown. So my downloads each month have grown over 400% in just the last year. Actually, just this calendar year. So not even in a year, like in this calendar year. The other thing that's happened is, and this is why I say I've gotten to know you, I've heard from so many of you. You guys have reached out to me, whether it's through social media, whether it's through my website, and you've shot me messages, and you've shared with me some incredible things. You've shared with me your needs. You've talked to me about the problems you're having, your desires. You have shared with me your hearts. And I'm so grateful for that. You have no idea what that means to have people who trust you enough to reach out and share the things that I've heard over the past couple of years. You guys have opened up to me. And the biggest surprise of them all is that I've had people reach out to me and ask for help. And that is probably one of the most humbling things that I've ever experienced, is to have people say, hey, I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to be honest. I have this problem, and I think you might be able to help me, and reach out and ask for it. So before I go any further, a huge heartfelt thank you to every single person who has ever reached out to me for any reason, but particularly so for those of you who have reached out to me for help. I hope I've been able to at least help you to some degree. Now, I'll be totally honest, again, we're among friends here. I was wondering why in the heck people would ever reach out to me for help, to me. I'm like, that little voice in my head started squawking. I'm like, who am I to offer advice? Who am I to even be building this platform? And who am I to try to help people? And those questions have been echoing in my head on repeat for over a year. And we've talked about this before, right? That's that inner critic. That's those self-limiting beliefs. That's that self-doubt. And those questions, they made me question myself and my abilities. They made me question and doubt my own value and the value of the work that I've been doing on this podcast. And what's infuriating mostly about that is that I started to doubt the value of the podcast, and that means I was starting to doubt, the women that I brought on here. Are they actually providing value? When I know that they are. But the cool thing is, and I mentioned, I'm not the same person that I was 2 years ago. I kept going. I kept plugging on. And all the while that self-doubt was kind of, bubbling under the surface, a transformation was occurring behind the scenes. And I want to tell you about that. And this is a personal transformation. So, along with 2 business partners, within the last couple of years, I built a company that does literal magic for other companies by using a combination of analytics, psychology, and design methodology. And we create and design customer experiences that are so beautiful and resonate so well with customers that our clients' bottom lines grow after working with us. That's so cool. It's so cool to see. And yet, I still continued to doubt my own abilities. Am I really good at analysis? Is this something that I'm really good? How about design? That's something that I've been learning, as I go within this company. Am I actually good at design? Here's the even bigger one. Does my PhD in psychology really mean that I have knowledge that could help real people? Like, literally, this is the thoughts in my head. These are the thoughts in my head. It's so crazy. In my personal life, I've shared this with you guys. I battled postpartum depression, and I struggled to navigate my life that was swelling in terms of complexity. As our family grew, as both my husband's job in the ER and my own work My own calendar was pivoting on what seemed like an hourly basis. Life was complicated. And this killed me because if you've listened to episodes 39 and 40, you know that I will thump and swear a lot about. So just be warned, if you listen to those episodes, there's a lot of swearing in those episodes, that I will thump all day long on the notion that each of us only gets one life to live, and that living it to the fullest and living without regret is so critical. It is absolutely crucial that we all live the best life we possibly can live because we're only getting one. So it was so painful to watch, the self-doubt bubble and feel my life, getting out of control and feel like I needed to regain control of it. So I did the only thing that I know how to do. I applied the knowledge and skills, so analysis, psychology, and my newfound love for the design process. I started applying it to my own life. I made intentional changes using the powerful techniques of these totally disparate fields that seem like they are unrelated. I smashed them together and used those powerful techniques to make changes in my life. And I watched, and more importantly, I felt the shift that occurs when you finally align in a way that's authentic to who you are. And those changes made my day-to-day life feel so much different, materially different. And because of that, I grew a little bit more bold, and that's awesome. And as more and more of you reached out to me for help, I started sharing the tools and techniques I was using on my own life. I started sharing them with you. I started sharing, my life blueprint on the website. I started writing content like the confirmation bias piece and how that helps you get rid of self-limiting beliefs. I was replying to people and sending them additional tools. I was doing all of this behind the scenes, and on a small scale, other people's lives began to align and began to change. So instead of always asking myself, this little voice in my head, like, do you honestly think you can help other people with this knowledge? I started asking another question, a very different question. And by the way, not coincidentally, that question was inspired by the design process. So instead of asking whether I thought I could help people, I started asking myself, how might I help people? How might I? Let's pretend it's possible. What might that look like? And there's a famous quote that says, your quality of life will be determined by the quality of questions you ask. And that is no joke. I began to ask a better question. How might I? And I watched my life and my work and my brain change again. This has all been growing behind the scenes. I started to see opportunity and ideas and resources everywhere. Again, I've talked about it on the podcast so many times. If you give your brain a goal, it can goal seek better than anything else. And I want you guys to know I'm sharing all of this detail and this personal story because I desperately want you to know and understand that the stuff that I'm sharing with you is not something that I'm putting out there to pontificate on my soapbox and tell you how you should live your life. These are things that I am actually doing and that are changing how my life feels. So I set this goal. How might I help people? What would that look like? What are my skills? How could I do something that could help these people that are reaching out to me? And I saw opportunity and ideas everywhere. People started to walk into my life and I started to talk to them about this, and they brought me more people, more resources, more ideas. It has been so cool. Now, this thing that I and other people have started to call life design, crazy enough, life design. This isn't even mine. Like, this is a thing that's happening, out in the self-help and personal development space. It started to take this very firm root in my own life. And because of that, I've become so much more intentional. And now, as I'm moving through my day and as I'm moving through my week, anytime I'm hitting common friction points that occur over and over again, I've stopped looking at them as problems or as friction points, and I've started reframing them as design challenges. And the coolest thing is the tools and techniques that I learned in my PhD program and that I've perfected by working with corporate clients actually have practical application for real human people. Holy shit! Like, that's so cool. That is so cool. And that, my friends, was the last domino. When I saw it work for me, when I saw it work for other people, when I finally put away that self-doubt, it's not completely gone, by the way. It still kind of rears its ugly head, but I just tell it to be quiet and I keep moving anyway. When I finally put away that self-doubt, it was amazing. That was the last domino to fall. So who am I to be doing this work? I'm a PhD trained psychologist, damn it. I'm a freaking data scientist. I know analysis, and I'm the co-founder of a firm that specializes in design methodology. Plus, I'm the ultimate guinea pig. I'm the ultimate success story of this work. I'm a living, breathing proof case that analysis, design, and psychology combine to create a set of tools that can absolutely transform people's lives. I know this. I, with my whole heart, believe it. And this precious experience, life, that we are only getting one of, can be materially improved by using the techniques I've been playing with. So, crazy inner critic, who am I to be doing this work? I'm exactly who should be doing this work. All right, so I'm going to do the work. And that's terrifying to say. I'm so scared. Actually, a coach that I'm working with keeps telling me to stop saying I'm so scared. And I understand why. Like, words have power. They signal to your brain something. So I'm so excited. We're going to reframe that. I'm really excited. I actually really am. But I'm going to do the work. I don't know. I'm going to be honest. Again, friends, I don't know what this is going to look like in a year or 2 or 5. But I do know that if I start down the path, if I keep taking steps, if I put some stuff out there and get feedback and I iterate on it, I know that the path is going to illuminate. I know it's going to get more clear. Okay, so that was really intense. So if you're still with me after all of that, let me fill you in on what I know that means right now. So it means that you're going to see a little bit of shifting and changing, and it means, I hope, that you're going to get even more value out of the work that I'm doing going forward. So let's start with the podcast. I'm still going to be featuring amazing, inspiring women on the podcast. That's just in my heart. I can't help it. We don't take victory laps enough. We need to learn from each other. Like, damn, we are a seriously powerful force. So that will still happen. However, you're going to hear an increasing amount of content about life design. I can't not share it anymore. And so I'm going to share more openly about the tools and resources that I'm developing and testing. I'm the ultimate guinea pig. And I truly hope that you guys can apply those tools and techniques in your own lives. And by the way, if you do, reach out to me. I honestly love hearing from you guys. I want to hear about it. Second, I'll soon be offering a few ways that we can work together more formally. So I've been working tirelessly recently. If you've watched my Insta stories, you know that I've been part of a mastermind. The whole goal for that was to create a framework out of the experimentation that I've been doing in my own life. I know these tools and techniques help people. I know they do. And I feel so compelled to put them out there in the world. And so I joined this mastermind. I threw a group of insanely smart and talented and supportive women around me, along with a really scary timeline and a very powerful coach. If you haven't caught Yasna Bursa's episode, go back and watch it right now. Go back and listen to it right now. She's amazing. But I put that around me because I wanted to get this work up and out the door, and it's happening. It is happening, and you'll hear about it toward the end of the year. It's coming. And the biggest promise that I can make to you, again, as my friends, is that I'm going to be transparent with you throughout this entire process. I'm going to share with you what I'm doing. I'm going to talk about how it's going. We're going to adjust course where we need to. This is exactly what I ask you guys to do. Start. Just do it. Just go. Take a step and adjust if you need to. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. And I'm going to be open and honest with you guys about how that's going. But here's the thing. I don't want a one-sided friendship. I don't. I want you guys to do the same. I want you guys to reach out to me. I want you to tell me what you need from me. I'm here for you guys. This podcast is not at all about me feeling the urge to do it anymore. Well, it is, because that urge and that motivation is still there. But so much bigger than that, this work and this podcast is for you. So as we round out 2018, just know that the gray areas of this are all going to solidify very soon. There's something really big coming. Seriously big and so fun and exciting. Not scary, exciting. And I'm going to share it with you guys really soon. But until then, I wanted to share this update with you guys in lieu of a formal interview episode. I just had to get this out and talk to you guys just one-to-one. So consider this me sharing my own story, which is a total work in progress, like everybody's is. And until I make that big announcement, I want to leave you with a series of questions. And these are legitimately questions. Again, I don't leave you guys with stuff that I'm not doing to myself. It's a set of hard questions that I ask myself on almost a daily basis. And it's a set of questions that when I started doing this daily questioning of myself, it started me down this transformational path. So we each only get one life to live. We get one shot at it. Really let that sink in. Make space for that. Don't push it away. Let it sink in. And my questions for you are, if you were at the end of your life looking back right now, could you truly say that you're living the life you want to be living? Are your days as joyful as they could be? You only get today once. You only get each day once. Are they as joyful as they could be? Are you living authentically as your true self? And is your life set up to support that authentic person? Are you living like your life depends on it? Or are you finding yourself settling, asking yourself, is this all there is? Friends, I'm telling you, it is not all there is. It can be more joyful, more aligned, more vibrant, more bold, and I am living, breathing proof. All right. That was really big at the end. I want to thank you guys so much for listening this week and every week that you're able to tune in. I said it in the beginning, the amount of gratitude that I feel right now, it's all the feelings at once, but gratitude's probably the leading number one feeling. The amount of gratitude that I feel right now, it feels like it's bursting out of my body. And because of that, I want to be of more value to you. So there's so much more to come, and it's coming so soon. And I can't wait to share it with you guys. Thanks so much for listening this week. Before we close out today, I want to say thank you to my producer, Cameron Hill, and to my incredible sponsor, Modern Well. If you want to learn more about how you can reach your goals in a one-of-a-kind work-life community, visit www.modernwell.co. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone else who might benefit from this inspiring message. And if you have a moment, click the link in the episode description to leave me a rating and a review on iTunes. It would mean so much to me. Finally, I want to remind you that it is absolutely possible to live a happy, fulfilling life, even in spite of all of the chaos and demands we all experience. Sign up at aprilseifert.com to gain access to tools that will help you do just that. I have carefully created and curated a set of tools that combine the powerful fields of psychology and design thinking to help you intentionally create a fulfilling, happy life you love. Thank you so much for joining me this week, and until next week, stay inspired.